We are ticking a few items off our bucket list on this edition of Fishy Business. I take my daughter Jess in search of her first kingy, and she ends up in an epic battle.
Whoa, what a run!
Darren dives a spot that he has been promising himself to visit, and it's full of surprises. And Kirk heads to Samoa in search of one of the most spectacular fish in the sea.
Whoa, he's going ballistic!
A sunny Auckland day sees me heading out from the harbour with my daughter Jessie to go out and try and capture her first kingy. My fishing spot was to be my favourite waters around Waiheke. Joining us to help drive the boat and offer moral support was my daughter's boyfriend Dean. Well, hi and welcome to Fishy Business. Today it's a fantastic day because what we're doing is we're fulfilling some of our dreams on our bucket list. And one of my dreams, I've got my young daughter Jessie here, who's grown up into a beautiful young woman. We've done lots of fishing together, eh Jess?
Yeah,
But
heaps.
one thing Jess has never done is caught a kingfish. And she said, Dad, I'd love to catch one of those big kingfish. She's got twin brothers that have both caught them. Her mother's caught them. Poor Jess has never caught a big kingfish. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to fulfill Jessie's bucket list and catch a kingy. Hey Jess?
Yep, sounds good.
Sounds good. Come to you right, keep the revs just the same. You're good, you've got fish all around you. The first job at hand was to catch our bait, which was going to be small kahawai. Luckily they were boiling on the surface, feeding on small fish, making them easy to find. We trolled around the schools, taking care not to spook them, and pretty soon we had plenty of fresh live baits coming over the side. That's a good bait. Watch out. And this is just the bait. Imagine something that's going to eat that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
We use a paravane or diving board to take our lures a little deeper, and it definitely helps us get more bites. And following your track on your GPS and using your fish finder will help you catch fish when they're not working on the surface. To keep our live baits fresh, we have a large live bait tank on the boat with a pump that circulates plenty of fresh seawater. That's what the kahawai are feeding on, and our little silver lures just look just like that. Many anglers probably have the same bucket list as Jessie. They want to catch a decent kingy. And there are lots of big kingies in the Hauraki Gulf, or you get them down the Bay of Plenty or in the far north. But one of the tricks to catching a decent one is to fish for a big fish. So today I'm going to be mainly using live baits, but if we see any surface activity, I'll probably throw some poppers and stick baits around, or Jessie will anyway. But live baiting with decent sized live baits is one of the keys to catching a decent kingy. So that's what we're going to do today. With a good supply of live baits, we headed off to a likely looking spot. All the signs were looking good. I was really hoping we could catch Jess her kingy. Yes, I'm going to let you use this rod today because it's nice and light, but it can handle really big fish. I've given you a gimbal there. When you're playing a kingy, keep your other hand, right? That's the one, and this is the one that winds the handle, okay? We'll put it in gear, and this is the sort of pressure you're going to feel. So pull back against the rod, very, very strong.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got to be prepared for that. But when we're live baiting, what I want you to do is put this thumb here, and you feel your live bait going like this. Keep your thumb on it so it can't get away.
Okay.
And when a kingy takes it, it'll pull like this, and then when I say strike, I want you to flick that lever forward.
This?
Yep. So strike, and then the weight will come on like that.
Okay.
So you've got to be balanced, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's very important. So you can actually brace yourself with your legs, that's the way. Keep that hand higher up there, and just hang on, let the fish pull line, and then you've got to pump and wind when you hook up. Hopefully get hooked up.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for action?
Yep.
Trick is with your live bait, just to hook it just in front of the dorsal fin and not too deep. Might seem a bit mean, but it works for catching big fish. Right, now come over this side.
Yeah.
Right, I'll put him in the water and he'll just swim back and let him out, let him out. Let him put a line out there. About coloured line?
Yeah.
So about 3 colours. So hold him about there. Now you're going to hold him with you. It'll pull quite hard. We'll shut the lid. Now you're fishing.
Okay.
Okay. Now what you're feeling for is it'll get upset, right, and it'll start rattling. If something grabs it hard and starts pulling it, don't panic and just wait and do what I tell you to do.
Okay.
What you don't want to do is clamp down too soon or strike too soon because it might pull the bait out of the mouth.
Okay.
So you just got to listen for instructions. I know I'm your dad, but you can do that, can you?
Yeah, of course.
Jessie was looking nervous, but I had given her a good preparation and I knew she'd be able to handle anything I threw at her, which is good because she was about to get tested in a way that I had not anticipated. Hold on, you got him. Way to go, Jess. Lift the rod up. Slowly, Dee, slowly. Up this way, up this way. Hold on, Jess.
I got it.
You haven't got it yet, we've got to get it away from the reef. Hold on tight. Right, we'll clear the deck. This is such a thrill for me to see my daughter hooked up on a really good fish.
I can't hear one thing.
Now the pressure's on me to make sure we get it. How does it feel?
It feels pretty tough.
Pretty heavy?
Yeah.
It's only just waking up.
Feels like I've got the ground.
No, you haven't got the ground because we've driven away from it. Alright, slow up a bit, Dean. And then you keep going out. With this sort of fishing, we just got a strike, big run. You've got no idea what size the fish is until you see it. So it could be 10 kilos, it could be 30 kilos. Could be here for 5 minutes, could be here for half an hour. Right, straighten up, Dean. Look at the lines coming forward. Hard circle. Don't go fast. It'll come round, don't get her on the outboard.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Lean on it, that's the way, good pressure. Keep the rod square if you can. Oh, it's biting. After what was a fairly typical kingfish bite,
Whoa, what a run!
a few strange things happened. And after Jessie had been playing the fish for 20 minutes or so, it suddenly took off on another massive run. This was far from typical. In most cases, using heavy braid and powerful rods, I would have expected the fish to be well beaten by now. My suspicions were that Jessie's kingy had been eaten by a shark. Don't rest on the gunnels, you've got to pull the rod with your hand. Yeah, that's it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good, you're good, you're good. That's good pressure, you do it at the right angle. Get to a certain point before I come up to you.
Yeah.
The fight got more intense and Jess was working the tackle to the limits and being tested physically herself. Every time the shark would pull away, Jess battled it using every ounce of strength, and eventually she got it alongside the boat. Hold on. Whoa. Well, Jessie's kingy got eaten by a massive bronzy. Look at that, we've got him right beside the boat. Have a look at that, sweetheart. That's what you've been pulling on. And that's what grabbed him. Bronze whaler sharks are very common over summer and eat everything from mullet to stingrays, and even the odd kingfish. They have been known to attack man, and like all wild animals, they must be treated with caution. Well, it finally chewed through the chase. We were going to let it go, but how was that, Jess?
Oh wow, that was hard work.
You did really well. I thought to start with it was a kingy, and then I saw your line just picked up, so I think maybe the bronzy ate the kingy.
Well, fine by me.
It was a
Humongous
tough
catch
fight.
of the day.
I reckon, real big catch. So we still try and catch kingy though?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Although exhausted, Dean and I encouraged Jess to have another go to see if she could catch a kingy. Right, point it, go, here, away you go. Hold on. You got him. Way to go. Steer out, Dean, steer out this way. A little bit faster. She was on again. Hopefully we would get this one before the sharks got it. Second strike. Faster. Hold on, slowing down. I was so proud of Jess and the way she was fishing and the way she stuck to the task. I could tell Dean was proud of her too. A bit different than that first one.
Not as strong.
Yeah.
Still strong, but not as strong.
Keep tight, keep tight. A lot of head shaking. Slow down, Dean. Nice work. Yeah, at least he's not pulling you down to the gunnels. With plenty of encouragement and a lot of determination, Jessie got a fish to the surface. This is the time where lots of fish are lost, and I was being extra cautious with this one. Oh, he's not ready to go yet. Fight him a little bit more. Lift him up for me. Here we go. Whoa. Yes! There is your kingfish. Hey?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's
Happy with that.
happy with that?
Yeah.
Mission accomplished?
Yeah, definitely.
Bucket list ticked off. Well done. Coming up, Darren fulfills one of his bucket list dives at a very interesting spot.
I live right on a beach in Torbay on Auckland's North Shore. For many years I've travelled the world diving great locations. One of the things I've always wanted to do is have a serious dive right on my own back doorstep. With a good patch of weather and clear water, the day's promising to be one of the better days to give this a go. Armed with all the equipment I would need, I headed off to some of the shallow reef just off the beach. Now, while I've dived off the beach a few times, I've never really approached a dive like I would when I'm diving better known spots. Today I'm really serious and determined to come home with a good feed. Straight away I found some interesting things like these sea cucumbers and fish hiding in caves. There's schools of all these juvenile parori cruising all over the weed. I went to work to burley up some fish. Some of the local mooring buoys are loaded with mussels, and I use these and octopus from a previous trip as part of my burley setup. If anything is going to attract big fish, it's a good burley. I took plenty of time and made sure my burley was well placed. I set off for a look around to give the burley some time to work. While searching a crack in the rocks, I found this crayfish. It's no more than a few hundred metres from the shore. Now, while I'm tempted to grab it, I think it's a better idea to leave it here for an attraction for other divers and kids I could bring to have a look. It's time to dive onto my burley, making sure to keep myself well hidden. A camouflage wetsuit is ideal in these conditions. While searching for a fish, I spot these telltale feelers of another crayfish. So the first one's not a fluke. The interesting thing about this is they're packhorse crays. You don't often see these packhorse crays in shallow, it's generally red crays. Just as I'm breathing up for my next dive, I see a flash on the bottom, so I drop down to have a look at it. Pretty soon I'm finding all kinds of odd things, and I'm feeling a bit like a treasure hunter. After all the exploring around, I've got quite a collection of gear. Now this is an unexpected new angle to diving locally. If I really spent some time, I could find some really valuable items. I'm wondering if Adam and Kirk needs any new rods. Maybe I should take up underwater rod and reel fishing. I think I'll stick with my spear gun. The fish were proving elusive. Maybe it's too bright and clear. There's plenty of good food around, like crabs and kinna. I'm determined to get a feed, and I've found some really good looking mussels on a rock. Getting mussels is a really good way to get into snorkeling, as they're fairly shallow and easy to find around most areas, and of course they're delicious. I decided to give the burley one more shot and found that a school of red mullet had come in on my octopus. These brightly coloured redfish are prized in many parts of the world as one of the best eating fish, and they'll definitely be a welcome addition to my catch. Red mullet have an average length of 25 centimetres. They can grow up to nearly 1 kilo in weight. They mainly feed on crustaceans and molluscs. The best way to cook red mullet is either barbecue whole or pan fry the fillets with the skin on. A couple more drops and I had enough red mullet to go with my mussels for an excellent meal. With a feed secured, I swam home wondering how many more crayfish were hanging out just off this beach.
Coming up, Kirk goes to great lengths in order to catch a fish that has been on his bucket list for years.
Beautiful bright blue colours. Absolutely magnificent fish. For this extreme adventure, I packed the wave runner into a container and headed to beautiful Samoa. The logistics of getting a ski to Samoa in a container and a whole pile of camera gear on a plane was the first challenge I had to face on this adventure. After a quick trip to the port to pull the ski out of the container, we were on our way to the south coast, where we would be staying in the luxurious Selitonga Sands Resort, about an hour from Apia. The Selitonga Sands is a brand new Kiwi-owned and managed resort that oozes luxury. Built on a former coconut tree plantation less than a year ago, there are plenty of local attractions to keep the whole family entertained for days. The Selitonga's sheltered lagoon is perfect for swimming, snorkeling, kayaking or just relaxing, and the massive pool with swim-up bar seemed to make time stand still. I was here to fish though, so it was time for me to prepare for what tomorrow may bring. Nothing in Samoa is entirely straightforward, so launching at the ramp of the resort next door took some teamwork. The slime-covered ramp was like ice, so backing the two-wheel drive rental car down it wasn't an option. Fortunately, all of Selitonga's staff were incredibly helpful, and with a little help from Calvin, the resort tour guide, I was finally on my way. To exit the lagoon, I had to make my way around a number of shallow bommies before heading through a narrow pass, much like a river bar. With a 2-metre swell, this certainly added some excitement to what was already going to be a groundbreaking trip. Today's task is to go in search of some pelagic fish. I'm hoping to get a nice big mahi-mahi, or as they call them here, mussy or mussy-mussy. They're called different things all over the world. Dorado, dolphin fish, all sorts of names. But they're beautiful fish. I've never caught one, and you can get some quite big ones here, not that far offshore. So, I'm heading on out. I'm gonna drop some lures in about 4 miles. 4 miles out, it's 2,000 metres or 6,500 feet deep, which is quite phenomenal. That's why people come to places like this, because the fishing is so close to the shore. Already, I've only just left the lagoon, and already it's more than 500 metres deep. Just dropped straight off. Such awesome possibility, awesome potential. I'm filled with anticipation and excitement, so I'm heading out there now to get into it. Let's go.
Samoa is almost 3,000 kilometres north of New Zealand and consists largely of 2 main islands, Upolu and Savaii. The islands are surrounded by warm tropical water year-round, making it the perfect place for a fishing adventure.
I've just got to the 2,000 metre mark, or just before actually, but I saw some birds. So I'm setting up my lures. Going to run one of these and one of these. That should give us a good spread of options.
The conditions weren't perfect, but with the crystal clear warm waters, mixed with the anticipation of what might grab my lure, I certainly wasn't complaining. It took a few hours of trolling before the first fish came inquiring, but when it did, it was worth the wait. The fight was on and the anticipation turned to excitement. Having two lures out presented a few challenges. I had to turn the ski to try and prevent everything from tangling, all the while making sure I didn't lose this bucket list fish.
We're hooked up! Finally!
Mahi-mahi are known for their enthusiasm during a fight. They will often try everything to shake the hook, and this one was no
Oh,
exception.
he's going to jump! Oh, what a jump! Whoa, he's going ballistic!
The colours of the mahi-mahi against the clear blue Pacific simply can't be described. It is amazing how they change colour from blue to yellow, green and silver.
Here it comes. It's a beautiful masi. It's on the top of my list. Beautiful mahi-mahi, beautiful bright blue colours. Absolutely magnificent fish. He's on the gaff.
I'd done it. Another new species for me and the wave runner, not to mention the first time the south coast of Samoa has ever been fished from a ski.
Look at that for a fish. That's what I've come all this way for, to tick one of these big babies off the bucket list. Beautiful colours, beautiful eating. The boys at the resort are going to love this tonight. Woo!
Being surrounded by the ambience of the Seletonga Sands while enjoying the fish and reflecting on the experience was an absolutely awesome end to the day.
Fishy Business is proud to support Legacy,